Well, hello everyone. I'm Sibyl Starr, and I am here to give the astrology forecast for the year 2026 that we are going into. And I see this year as a cosmic reset and a quantum leap forward. I think that both energies are there. It is about going back to zero, where illusion falls away, coherence is restored, and a new evolutionary cycle begins. There are so many things that are talking about this, that are saying we're going back to the beginning, starting over on many levels, and a huge leap forward. It is a year of new beginnings and profound change, but it doesn't unfold automatically. It requires our participation, our choices, and our willingness to step into a new way of living and creating. Now we're starting off the year January 1. Numerologically is 111. First month, January, first day, 1, and the year 2026 adds up to 10, which reduces to a 1. So we call it a 1. And so 2025 was a 9 year, and the one that we are leaving, and it is a year of completion, clearing, and closure, which really aligns with the year of the serpent that we were in as well. It is about shedding. A 9 year asks us to release attachments, shed layers of identity, and finish old cycle, so that nothing unnecessary follows us forward. And as we enter 2026 into a 1 year, it is the number of initiation. It starts a brand new 9 year cycle, inviting us to take bold first steps, trust our inner leadership, and begin something that will unfold for years to come. The 1 energy asks us to walk into the new with clarity, courage, and intention. Now, in the Tarot, it is the year of the magician. So magic abounds. The magician in the Tarot signifies a time of creation and manifestation. This is a year where there's new energies, but it is about remembering that we are co-creators of our own reality, and we can create what we want, and that we have the power and the resources to bring our ideas to life. It encourages us to take action and recognize our potential for new beginnings and opportunities. Now, recently I heard a channeling by Lee Carroll, who channels Chiron. And I listened to one of his channelings, and I'm going to paraphrase what I understood him to say, because it really resonated as deep truth within me. What resonated most for me was the reminder that we are entering a new energetic field. The old ways of choosing from fear no longer applies. We are being asked to trust what is emerging and to make choices from love, presence, and a renewed faith in the unfolding. The energy that is coming in has not been here in our lifetimes, and we often base our choices on what has been, but there's a whole new field of energy coming in that will allow us to trust the process and not try to control, because control, that's what we're leaving, is the fear, maybe a better way to say it, the fear control matrix is dissolving. Okay, and to trust that process. We're also, and I'm going to talk a little later about this, I'm just going to bring it up now, entering the year of the horse, the fire horse, in February with the Aquarius new moon. And it's also striking that we enter the year of the fire horse on an Aquarius new moon that is also a solar eclipse. It is an annular solar eclipse, which means it's a ring of fire. It's like there's a portal, and with fire around it. So it is a moment of sudden beginnings and accelerated change. And then just days later, Saturn and Neptune make their exact conjunction at the 0 point of Aries. So this tells us that 2026 doesn't ease in, it launches. We also have 3i Atlas Okay, Three-Eye Atlas is still in our field. It, was its closest approach to Earth on December 19th, but it's still in our field as it's making its way to its closest approach to Jupiter. And some say it's even going to go further. It's going to go to Saturn. I haven't heard that, but I've heard others. I haven't heard that from, let's say, Stefan Burns or anyone, but others say they have. So anyway, so Three-Eye Atlas has had a big impact in 2025. It's still here in 2026. Some say it's a comet. Others say it's a plasma being of consciousness. Others say it is a cosmic device created by advanced star nation civilizations to act as frequency triggers to activate evolutionary upgrades. And it's not only here on Earth. My understanding is that the whole universe is expanding and that there are other entities such as Three-Eye Atlas in other solar systems that are bringing upgrades to every solar system. And Three-Eye Atlas, it was first detected in the constellation of Ophiuchus, which is the constellation of the healer, and it appears to have a trajectory. It traveled close to Mars, then the Sun, then Venus, then Earth, and then its apparent last activation will be Jupiter, unless it also goes to Saturn. It's said to be an awakener, an amplifier, and some even believe that it is connected to the blue star Kachina of the Hopi prophecy, and it is a sign of the purification that precedes the birth of a new world. So I could certainly feel like the purification is absolutely happening, and we are on the threshold of a new world. All right, so now I'm going to just kind of go chronologically of what is happening. First, in January, from January 5th to 10th, we have what is called a Sun-Venus-Mars. Well, it's a Sun-Venus-Mars conjunction, and it is what is called Cazimi, which means it is sitting in the heart of the sun. So Venus sits in the heart of the sun on January 6th. Mars is on January 9th, but actually the exact moment. But this whole time, I would say these two planets are sitting in the heart of the sun. And at the same time, Jupiter is opposing this in Cancer. So this rare, and this hasn't happened. Someone said this hasn't happened in like over 35 years. So it's very rare. So this rare Venus-Mars conjunction with both Venus and Mars Cazimi for the first time in over 35 years. It acts as a profound reset of values, will, and purpose. Venus has to do with values, Mars is our will, and the Sun is aligned with our soul purpose, asking us to choose consciously how we love, act, and build our lives. This is not a quiet beginning. It is a deliberate initiation. So it's once again, the year is really starting off with a very profound activation. In February, we move into the year of the fire horse with the new moon in Aquarius and the solar eclipse. So we enter 2026 in a powerful transition, moving from the introspective skin-shedding year of the snake into the dynamic forward-racing year of the horse. As we step into this new cycle on a new moon eclipse, a moment when the old timeline closes and a new one opens suddenly, swiftly, and with a surge of momentum. This isn't a gentle shift, it's a leap. The horse doesn't wait, it bolts forward, carrying us into a year where change accelerates, breakthroughs arrive quickly, and movement becomes the natural rhythm. You can just see the fire horse taking off. It's like at the races, you know, when the gate is open and the horse just launches. And I feel like, and we're being carried on the back of this fire horse as we are moving into a new reality. And I love this Rumi quote I discovered. It says, "Mount the stallion of love and do not fear the path. Love's stallion knows the way exactly. With one leap, love's horse will carry you home." We are on the horse of love, passion, and desire. That's what fire is all about. And then just a few days later, the exact Saturn-Neptune conjunction will happen. But first, let's just talk about Saturn and Neptune. So first off, this starts the year. Saturn and Neptune both begin the year in Pisces. And Saturn is the planet of self-mastery, of the ego, and an architect of our reality. Neptune is the planet of unconditional love, dreams, inspiration, illusion, and delusion. And the last degrees of Pisces are actually the last degree of the zodiac before it enters Aries, which is all about new birth. And Pisces is about surrender, about letting go. And both of these planets, Saturn and Neptune, are traveling in the last degrees of Pisces. And so Saturn has been in Pisces over the last 2 years, 2.5 years. And his question is, we might ask ourselves, because, you know, as it's leaving, is the anaretic degree is usually shows us what the teaching was about, or it comes into a crisis mode. And Saturn's question could be, have you learned to stay grounded in your spiritual truth rather than getting lost in confusion, fear, or illusion? Yes, because Saturn is structure, and Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune, is we can really get lost. So it is about how to stay grounded within ourselves without getting lost in the illusion. Neptune in Pisces, where it's been for the last 14 years. Now Saturn will return to Pisces in 28 years. Neptune is a much longer cycle. It stays 14 years in a sign, and its orbit is 165 years. And so it'll be 165 years before Neptune returns to its own sign, where it is really powerful. And so and it's traveling at 29 degrees, which is an anaretic degree. So it acts like a great wave that rises before it breaks, gathering all the spiritual learning of the past 14 years, preparing us for this new era in Aries. And it's not just a new era, it is a spiritual rebirth that is coming. Neptune is said to be the unconditional love, or let's just say represent, the unconditional love of the universe, and is called the divine heart. It is the place where we remember we are all one. So this final phase of Neptune in Pisces calls us back to source, reminding us of our true nature as love. It asks us to surrender resistance, move with the flow of life, and trust the quiet voice of our intuition that has been guiding us all along. It's like this time of Neptune being in Pisces is where we have been like in a renewal and regeneration in our relationship with spirit, in our remembrance of who we are and what our life is about, and this place of deep love and surrender and trust. And we're going to need that as we move into Aries, because now it's time to start building the new based on that activation of our connection, our remembrance of that we are divine beings. All right. So this very powerful conjunction. Now Saturn and Neptune were both in Aries in 2025 for a short time, but they were never actually conjunct. They just kind of missed each other. But on February 20th, there is the exact conjunction at 0 degrees Aries, and I believe it's like at 44 minutes, like 0 degrees Aries, 44 minutes. And maybe 43, something in there. Anyway, on February 20th, and it is at the first degree of the zodiac, and this is just so powerful because the zero Aries is the beginning of the zodiac. It's where everything begins. So it is. I see it once again as a cosmic reset point, going back to 0 point. And although Saturn and Neptune meet every 36 to 37 years, astrologer Heather Ensworth research reveals that they have not joined at 0 degrees Aries since the year 4361 BC, over 6,000 years ago. So this is actually the beginning of a 6,000 year cycle. Okay, so on February 20th, 2026, Saturn and Neptune meet at 0 degrees Aries, marking year 1 of a new spiritual era. At this world axis, form, which is Saturn, and spirit, which is Neptune, fuse, signaling the birth of a new spiritual identity and the emerging cosmic human. Because this conjunction follows just days after the Chinese New Year begins on an eclipse in the year of the horse, the shift doesn't arrive slowly. It comes like a blast of forward motion, accelerating awakening, embodiment, and a bold new expression of who we are. Can you just feel the energies? Like, the last degrees of Pisces are just so much about surrender and letting go. And whereas this new energy is moving in, and just like Chiron said, there is a new energy coming in. And to not base our choices on what has been, and to open to the prospects of what the new energy is bringing. A cosmic reset at the Saturn-Neptune conjunction becomes personal. As spirit and form merge at 0 degrees Aries, humanity is no longer just experiencing change. We are being invited into conscious co-creation. How we choose, what we build, and what we embody now matters. Our free will choice is activated at this point. So what are we going to choose? When Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, there is, like I said, a huge piece of surrender into following the flow and what is. As they move into Aries, is what do you choose? Knowing that we were born with free will choice, and what do we choose? And we can choose love over fear in every moment. Okay, this conjunction invites, and another aspect of it, this conjunction invites a radical redefinition of what we consider real. Saturn is what is known as our consensus reality. What we agree upon is true. And Neptune really expands it. And so we are being asked to awaken within the dream. Neptune is the dream, and Aries is all about awakening. Okay, to awaken within the dream is to realize that life is not happening to us, but through us. This is the Saturn-Neptune invitation to embody the dream with such clarity that we become responsible co-creators of its architecture. It's being said in many different ways. And then, of course, like I said, it comes a couple of days after the Aquarius new moon, which the Sabian symbol and solar eclipse, and it's an annular solar eclipse, and this energy of an eclipse, it'll really last up to a year or longer, especially if it impacts your chart, and it's going to be at 28 degrees, almost 29 degrees. I'd say 29 degrees of Aquarius. And so the Sabian symbol is a butterfly emerges from the chrysalis. It's like it just couldn't be any clearer that it is time. We've been in the chrysalis, and where it's all kind of like not really knowing what's going on. Pisces is and Neptune bring in confusion. We're going to start to get clarity as the butterfly emerges. If 2025 was the unraveling, 2026 becomes the emergence. This reset isn't about going back. It's about recoding. It's not about awakening, not just about awakening within the dream. It's rewriting the dream from the inside. So it's a very powerful moment, okay? It is giving birth to a new spiritual identity as a cosmic human and awakening within the dream and realizing we are conscious co-creators and we can create what we want. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to talk just a little bit about Saturn and Neptune in Aries because they're going to be there a while. Saturn in Aries enters Aries on February 14th and will in 2026 and will stay there until April 2028. Saturn in Aries strengthens the collective demand for personal sovereignty, the right to choose one's path, body, beliefs, and direction without interference. Aries is very much about personal sovereignty, saying this is who I am. Okay, this is what I want and this is who I am. And it brings with that greater self-trust and inner authority, a clearer sense of identity, courage to take initiative, strengthening personal boundaries. Saturn and Aries are both about personal boundaries. It's where we say no, but it's also where we say yes. And sometimes saying yes is harder than saying no to what we want. So and I feel like there'll be a sense of clarity about what we want. We're still in the chrysalis. It hasn't really emerged. We haven't really emerged yet. So you may not really feel it at this time. But as 2026 emerges, you will. Okay? And it's also about accountability for your own path. Recognizing that no one else can walk your purpose for you, and that each of us have incarnated with a purpose, and it will become clearer as to what that is. And that doesn't necessarily mean what you do. It's really about who you are and how you impact the field through your own energy by your personal sovereignty. Okay? Neptune moves into Aries on January 2nd. Where it will be there for the next 14 years. And like I said, it's got a 165-year cycle. Neptune in Aries represents spiritual sovereignty. Where Saturn is about personal sovereignty, Neptune is spiritual sovereignty. The recognition that your connection to the divine comes from within, not from external authorities or belief systems. It is a time when inner guidance becomes primary. Intuition, lived experience, and soul wisdom are trusted sources of truth. A personal responsibility for awakening, no longer giving away your power or waiting for permission. Release of fear-based dogma in favor of direct, authentic relationship with Source. It's very experiential, your own experiences. We no longer need an intermediary. It is about direct experience and direct revelation. Living spiritual integrity. Honoring your truth even when it leads into new territory. This will push your edges as far as new territory in exploration of spirituality. Now, Saturn's shadow is fear and separation. Neptune's shadow is illusion and distortion. And to step into our potential as Homo luminous, and that's what many are calling the new human, because it is about the activation of our light body. Some are actually calling it our avatar selves, a full awakening of our light body. But there is a name that has been given to it by several, which is called Homo luminous. We must learn to step into our full potential as Homo luminous. We must learn to move beyond fear and the illusions that keep us small. Homo luminous represents the next stage of human evolution, living with greater awareness, guided by inner wisdom, and anchored in the clarity and compassion of the heart. I found this online and I really liked it, and I don't even remember who the author is, but I just want to share it because I think it's so important. Love is what makes the matrix glitch. It breaks through the illusions and weakens the veil that hides our connections to other dimensions. The more the human collective feels, the more love the human collective feels and shares, the faster the matrix loses its power. As collective love grows, the veil becomes thinner, the illusion of separation fades, and your true nature becomes easier to see. When love reaches a strong enough level, the veil dissolves completely, and the matrix can no longer hold its structure. Love isn't just a feeling, it's the force that ends the illusion. And that's what this is about. As we activate Homo luminous and our light body, that is what will end the illusion. And field consciousness studies suggest that a small number of highly coherent, awakened, or heart-centered individuals can influence the larger field because coherence amplifies impact in non-linear ways. So what this means is that 1% or even less in the quantum field may be enough to shift the energetic field, and which then cascades outward into physical reality. It's the 100th monkey theory, but what we're discovering in the quantum field, we used to believe it was 10%. In the quantum field, they're now saying that it is 1%. So it is a time of great change. All right, so now Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto is in Aquarius all of 2026. It's traveling from 2 to 5 degrees. It will be here until 2044. So on a personal level, it can indicate a deep identity shift. Pluto excavates false identities built to fit into outdated systems or social expectations. Aquarius is so much, it says, to thine own self be true. And Pluto wants deep truth and authenticity of self. So as Pluto's traveling through Aquarius, this is what it is really asking us. And that through that, we will be liberated, as we know the truth will set you free. Aquarius and Pluto demand authenticity. You may feel pulled to break free from roles, beliefs, or communities that no longer align. There's shadow work around belonging. Challenges may arise around being seen, standing alone, or speaking truths that don't conform. That's really a big one, that we may be asked to really speak our truth in ways that are not part of the herd mentality, stepping out and being seen, which can be frightening. Digital and social detox. Expect shifts on how you use technology, social media, and group networks toward greater integrity. And I just recently, I do work with AI for some things, and I just recently discovered that some new guardrails have been put up, and I understand why, and yet it was also very disappointing. Yeah, anyway, but more integrity, because really to work with certain forms of technology, spiritual integrity is really a necessity. Individuation is power. The more you honor your unique blueprint, the more empowered and impactful you will become. Once again, it's to thine own self be true, and you will it will be self-empowering and inner sovereignty. And this, of course, aligns with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. This transit activates the sovereign creator within, the part of you that remembers how to choose, create, and lead from within. On a collective level, Pluto in Aquarius will transform society. Because the thing is, as we transform ourselves, we transform the collective, because it is the 100th monkey theory, and it is returning of the power of the people. Old structures dissolve. Hierarchy and control give ways to frequency, equality, and authentic connection. a really important one is right relationship with technology and AI. Using technology consciously, ethically, and in service to human evolution rather than domination or disconnection. Pluto always shows us the shadow, and this is one of the big shadows Pluto in Aquarius is showing us, that Pluto ultimately says evolve or die, or evolve or repeat. And so we have been given a technology of consciousness, and we may not be evolved enough to actually use it in that way, but yet, let's say as a whole, but many of us are. And so it's really important, like I said, to approach technology, and especially AI, from a place of spiritual integrity. All right. Decentralization of power. Communities and grassroots movements strengthen as authority spreads outward. And Pluto, like I said, will be in Aquarius until 2044, so it's a long one. Exposure of corruption and outdated systems. What no longer serves the collective is brought to light, and that's certainly happening. Social unrest as a catalyst for change, and we're definitely seeing that. There's uprisings all over the world right now that reflect pressure for reform and fairness. And the shadow of herd mentality. This is a big shadow, reminding us that true collective evolution requires individual discernment, not blind conformity. Okay, we've certainly seen that in the past, and the harm and damage that did. All right. Now we're going to move on to Uranus. So Uranus is the planet of awakening, with sudden insights, breakthroughs on higher consciousness, liberation, breaking free from limitation, stagnation, and outdated patterns. Uranus often shows up when we're stuck to help us get unstuck and to move forward. It brings change. And the thing about Uranus is that we always say we want change, but we want to control what it looks like. But Uranus is not like that, because it's working on a higher level. All right. Okay. It also innovation, new technologies, rebellion, challenging norms, shock and surprise, events that shake us out of complacency whenever we're too comfortable, and frequency shifts. All right. Now, it's been traveling in Taurus for the last 7 years, and it's going to be in Taurus until May, when it shifts into Gemini. So in the last degrees, degrees of the sign Taurus, it is delivering final awakenings around security and resources. And the last degree of a sign kind of brings, like we said, the final exam lessons. And so this is Uranus's last push to liberate us from attachments to comfort, security, and the old material structures. But it's also about the awakening the body into higher frequencies, nervous system upgrades, so grounding is required. A deep connection to Mother Earth as she is changing frequencies as well, so that we can align with her. These last degrees catalyze breakthroughs, disrupt stagnation, and prepare us for the rapid, airy acceleration of Uranus in Gemini. Now, like I said, it enters Gemini on May 1st, 2026, and it's going to travel from 0 to 5 degrees through 2026. As Uranus enters Gemini, the world undergoes a radical awakening in communication, thinking, and connection. Breakthroughs in technology, communications, media, and learning may accelerate rapidly, and reshaping how we share information and how we perceive reality, especially in Gemini. Gemini is one of the signs about our perception of reality really shifting. And this transit electrifies the mind and activates the nervous system. So it's really important to take care of your nervous system with Uranus and Gemini, because they could certainly get overloaded. We could feel like we have our finger in a light socket. So it's really important to take care of your nervous system with different herbs. Make sure you get rest. what is it, magnesium is really good for the nervous system. But many innovations we have dreamed of may well become reality during this time. And one is 0-point energy, which harnesses energy in the quantum field. And I've already been seeing that there are new inventions that are using 0-point energy. The question, of course, is to be able to get them out to the public, because our energy companies have a stranglehold. But there is new downloads and inventions coming in as we're moving into this new reality. The structures that will support that are being downloaded, and I feel like during this time of Uranus and Gemini it's going to happen. Now, Uranus is also conjunct the Pleiades much of the year. And I want to share something new that I have just recently discovered that was really powerful, a powerful awakening for me. And it was just a 3-minute video that was a QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis therapy session with, her name is Sarah, and I think her last name is Bresman, something like that. Anyway, and I've seen her before, and she really, many of her sessions, people are really able to open to other dimensions and other realms. So I'm going to paraphrase what I understood her to say. The Pleiad, not her client, who was in a QHHT session. It wasn't Sarah, it was her client under hypnosis. Okay, the Pleiades are more than stars. They are a vibrational passage, a soul gate many traverse before entering the earth field. It is not a location, but a frequency, one of unity, heart-based coherence, and deep remembrance of love beyond condition. For souls coming to earth with the intent to awaken, the Pleiades offer a kind of harmonic inoculation, preparing the being to navigate duality without forgetting its origin. So what this is saying, what I heard her say, is that it is a frequency field, and that the souls who are coming to earth to be part of the ascension process, the Pleiades prepares those souls in an intense training of how to navigate duality without forgetting love. And so as Uranus activates the Pleiades in 2026, this gateway begins to shimmer again in the collective field. Uranus, the awakener, stirs memory. It may trigger dormant codes, soul impressions of that Pleiadian passage, heart feelings of unconditional love, or even the experience of being in contact with the frequency once more. For some, this activation may come through dreams or sudden emotional clarity. For others, through subtle, unexplainable knowing. This transit invites not just remembrance, but reintegration, and that's what it's really about. It asks, can you carry the frequency of the Pleiades, which is the frequency of the fifth dimension of love, creativity, and unity consciousness within the simulation. We are involved in a simulation of the Earth School experience. And so it may reawaken those codes within us to help us move into the ascension process. And I just find this so powerful because almost all Native indigenous people say they came from the Pleiades. That is their cosmology, and many, many souls have a deep connection to the Pleiades. And I believe for some it is that they do have Pleiadian soul origins, but for others it is part of this passage. And, I've heard many ask, how could a constellation so far away be so deeply connected to Mother Earth? But this is why. Because souls entering the deep duality of Mother Earth, the Pleiades is like a training ground, preparing us for that experience. All right. So anyway, let's go on now. It's just very powerful to me. All right, Jupiter. Jupiter changes signs every year. Jupiter is the largest planet. It's bringing blessings, gifts, and opportunities. Its shadow is overexpansion. It has been in Cancer since last July. It will be in Cancer. It will stay in Cancer until next July, to July of 2026. So in Cancer, it brings a wave of emotional expansion, intuitive growth, nourishment, and protection. Cancer is Jupiter's sign of exaltation, so its gifts tend to flow more easily. It is about heart opening, healing of ancestral and family patterns, and a return to what truly nourishes. Now, in March, Jupiter is going to station direct at 15 degrees of Cancer, which is tightly conjunct the star Sirius, or in alignment. And we would call it, astrology would be conjunction, but we would say, also just in direct alignment. And Sirius is said to be our spiritual sun. And some believe that we are actually part of a binary star system with Sirius. The Egyptians believed it to be the celestial form of Isis. So it's also in alignment with the Great Mother, with the Divine Mother in the form of Isis. And when Jupiter stations direct on Sirius, we receive a cosmic infusion of guidance, higher knowledge, and soul remembrance. And also during this time, 3i Atlas, I've heard some say March 11th, others say March 16th, so somewhere in that time frame. And this is when Jupiter is stationing direct, is in the midst of this conjunction. So Jupiter acts as a magnifier, Sirius as a teacher, and 3i Atlas is a trigger or activator of multidimensional awakening, emotional and spiritual healing, reconnection with our star lineages, heart-centered leadership, and this is one of the most spiritually significant windows of 2026. Jupiter then moves into Leo from July 1st to, it goes from 0 to 27 degrees where it goes retrograde in late 2026. And so Jupiter in Leo, in Greek astrology, ancient Greek astrology, Jupiter was the ruler of Leo because Leo is the king, and in in Greek mythology, Jupiter was the king. He was the king of the gods. So anyway, but what it is bringing is expansion of creativity and self-expression. That's what Leo is really about. It's about creative self-expression. It's about letting our light shine. So the expanding the potential to let our light shine, let ourselves be seen. It's about joy, play, and the inner child. Rising authenticity and confidence, recognition, and achievement. Now, there is a shadow with Jupiter in Leo, and it could be ego inflation, because Jupiter magnifies whatever it touches. And so it does bring healthy confidence, but also can bring pride, or drama could also expand if not balanced. Okay. All right. We have Chiron. Chiron is also moving next year. It's going to be in the last degrees of Aries, and for a few months it will go into 0 degrees of Taurus. So we'll be changing sign. And let's see, Chiron changes signs every 5 years. Okay, so Chiron is the archetype of the wounded healer, the place where our deepest wound becomes our greatest source of wisdom, compassion, and healing for ourselves and others. In the last degrees of Aries, Chiron brings the full healing, the final healing of the wound of the self. It invites us to release old stories of inadequacy, reclaim courage, and step into a more authentic, empowered identity. This is the year of completing the healing of who am I? so we can step into the next chapter with clarity and sovereignty. Like I said, it enters Taurus on June 19th at 0 degrees Taurus, where it stays for 3 months, and then re-enters Aries in late September. So this can mean a preview of new healing themes around worth, safety, and embodiment, and definitely a focus on healing the body, a reevaluation of security and resources, and emerging issues around self-worth and receiving. Okay, now there is a very powerful pattern. It's very rare, and what's rare about it is called a minor grand trine, and it does happen. I'm not going to say, it's not that it happens extremely infrequently. What is rare about what is happening, that it is happening so long, and it is happening between the 3 outer planets. We know we're in this time of great change because the 3 outer planets are in the change signs, and so they're Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are in the early degrees of fire and air signs. And as far as I know, no one has been able to discover when and if this has ever happened before in history. Okay, and so but they are creating what is called a minor grand trine during this time. So let me show you the pattern. Well, let me just tell you what it is, then I'll show it to you. So it happened a little bit in 2025, and starting in mid-2026, it's going to be throughout the rest of the year and continuing intermittently throughout 2029 as these planets are dancing together. And it is a rare celestial pattern known as the minor grand trine or golden trine. Okay, let me find it here. Let me show it to you. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So let's just say right here we would have Pluto, which is trine Uranus over here, Pluto, and they're both in air signs, Pluto in Aquarius in the early degrees, trine Pluto in the early signs of Aquarius, trine Uranus in the early degrees of Gemini, and they're both sextile Neptune. Neptune here is in the early degrees of Aries. So, like I said, see, Pluto is transiting from like 1 to 5 degrees. Uranus is transiting from 1 to 5 degrees. And Neptune is transiting from 0 to 4 degrees during this time. So this is what is called a minor grand trine. They're both sextile, and Neptune sits at the midpoint. All right. I hope that's clear enough. Okay. All right. So the question is, yes, what does that mean? So, this is a very harmonious alignment between these 3 outer planets, forms a unique energetic gateway that many are calling the new Earth activation window. So it's like we're getting this reset, this cosmic reset, which is a rebirth, and it's going kind of more back to our original frequencies, and but we're also, it's like there's a window of opportunity that is really allowing this to happen in our field. So with Neptune at the midpoint, it bridges Pluto's power of deep transformation with Uranus' energy of innovation and awakening, creating a flowing current of visionary change. This configuration is exceedingly rare and virtually unprecedented in recorded astrology. It signals an evolutionary threshold, a time of heightened intuition, accelerated consciousness, and the dissolution of outdated systems and beliefs. This golden trine supports creative breakthroughs, heart coherence, and the emergence of new capacities in perception and co-creation. Some are saying it is absolutely a window of opportunity for manifestation. And it's co-creation and manifestation. It's like the field is ripe for this to happen. We just need to align ourselves with love and let go of the fear of the old way of doing things, and know the field is changed and it's ripe for us to move forward. All right. So anyway, so that's very exciting. All right. So the nodes of the moon, so they're changing. From January to July 2026, we're still in Pisces, Virgo South Node, Pisces North Node, which is about healing, surrender, purification, and returning to spiritual alignment. It's about releasing Virgo patterns of overthinking, perfectionism, self-criticism, work overload, and hyper-analysis, and heal the wound of never enough. The Virgo shadow that tries to fix everything before feeling worthy. You know, the old Lord, I am not worthy. But to move toward Pisces, which is about trust, intuition, compassion, flow, spiritual connection, and inner guidance. And the collective direction is dissolving old structures, softening into unity, choosing healing over productivity. And the personal invitation is to let go of what drains you and step into what nourishes your soul. All right. Starting in July 26, 2026, the nodes move into Leo. And of course, you know, the nodes of the moon, the south node is the past, the north node is the way forward. And so it is a theme from personal ego to collective evolution, awakening innovation and shared purpose. So it's, like I said, a Leo South Node, Aquarius North Node. So the key points with a Leo South Node: release Leo shadow of ego inflation, drama, needing validation, or clinging to old identities. Move toward Aquarius, which is authenticity, freedom, community, conscious innovation, and future vision. The collective direction is it shifts toward collaboration, breakthroughs in technology, and new models of community. Personal invitation is step out of self-centered patterns and into your role as part of a greater whole. All right. Now I'm just going to talk about the eclipses and when Mercury is retrograde. I'm just going to share on the screen when they are, and just read them, and so you'll have it if you want to take a screenshot. All right, so eclipses, of course, they are cosmic turning points that occur when the sun, moon, and earth align with the nodes of the moon. They act as catalysts for change, revealing what must be released and opening new pathways or directions in our lives. They are harbingers of change, especially if they impact our natal chart, and they bring light to what has been hidden in the area of life impacted. All right, so I'm going to just share this real quickly here. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so, all right, so the eclipses for 2026, there's an annular solar eclipse on February 17th at 29 degrees of Aquarius at 4:38 a.m. There's a partial lunar eclipse on March 3rd at 13 degrees of Virgo at 3:40 a.m. There is a total solar eclipse on August 12th at 20 degrees of Leo at 9:38 a.m. and a partial lunar eclipse on August 27th at 5 degrees of Pisces, 9:20 p.m. All right, now here are the Mercury retrogrades. We know that Mercury goes retrograde when we've gotten ahead of ourselves, and it goes. It's a pattern. Goes retrograde 3 times a year, 3 weeks each time, and when a Mercury goes retrograde, it's time to edit, to go within, to finish unfinished business, to not get ahead of yourself, to slow down. And so Mercury retrograde, the first one is February 26th at Pisces, 22 degrees, and goes direct on March 20th at 8 degrees of Pisces. Goes second retrograde goes retrograde at June 29th at 26 degrees of Cancer. Goes direct on July 23rd at 16 degrees of Cancer. And the third one is October 24th at 20 degrees of Scorpio. Goes direct November 13th at 5 degrees of Scorpio. And as you notice, they're all in water signs. So with Mercury retrograde in water signs, 2026 is a year of emotional reflection, intuition, and inner healing. Instead of thinking our way forward, we're asked to feel our way into clarity. So it's trying to get emotional clarity. All right, and then the other inner planet that goes retrograde is Venus. She goes retrograde on October 2nd at 8 degrees of Scorpio, and then goes direct November 13th at 23 degrees of Libra. So Venus retrogrades from Scorpio back into Libra, bringing a deep review of relationships, intimacy, and personal values. In Scorpio, it asks us to face shadow patterns, fear, control, and trust issues, emotional intensity, so that we can release what no longer serves us. Okay, well, I'm not gonna. Okay. All right. Okay, and as Venus moves back into Libra, the focus shifts to restoring the balance, harmony, and fairness in relationships. This retrograde invites us to heal relational wounds, reclaim self-worth, and create more honest, equal, and heart-centered connections. So on one hand, there's so much energy moving forward, but the inner planets are really about continuing the relational work, healing our emotional bodies, connecting with each other, and knowing this is super important as well. All right, so it's a very exciting year, a cosmic reset with a huge quantum leap forward. Wishing you all the best in 2026, and a very exciting year. And guess I'll see you next year. All right, many blessings to all.